Hello and welcome to the first ever vlog chapter of Chalky's Corner. I am very excited to get things kicked off for this. For those who might know me in the past, and I've done this in uni, Chalky's Corner is something that's always been very close to my heart. It was initially a radio station that I had during my time at Strathclyde University as a student to basically talk not a lot of nonsense, play some good music of bands that I loved and bands that I met along the way. Made some absolutely phenomenal memories doing it, met some wonderful people, and I think now at a part of my life where I feel careers and stuff are starting to dominate my day to day, I'm thinking it's time to bring it back. So over the course of the next sort of series or so, really going to be speaking to a lot of people, friends of past and present, to share our stories, try and tell some funny stories about just a bunch of guys and girls as well from my time in the various bands, acts I've been in, of just day-to-day life through playing music, and how sometimes just having a hobby that you know in your heart is going to stay a hobby, you make some absolutely phenomenal memories and some funny stories along the way. So I really hope that you're going to stay with me in this, and without further ado, we'll get stuck on in. So the first part we're going to cover is the early days and how music came to me. So music is something that always was a big part of my life from a very young age. I've been told there's videos somewhere of me standing with headphones up at a very young age, maybe about 2 or 3, with a big pair of headphones on, listening to Deeply Dippy by Right Said Fred. You know, good old music taste from the parents there. And I think since then, I can't remember a time in my life where music's not been part of it. For anyone that knows me maybe more in my sort of more modern day, I never set out to aspire to do a career in IT. I never certainly aspired to do project management or where I end up now, but caveat, it pays the bills and allows me to do some wonderful things like this and travel the world and all that stuff too, so this is not a passion. But my whole life set was to try and do something in music. Before I did anything, I always enjoyed listening to parents' music of a great taste. You know, my mum had me growing up listening to Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. My dad, Fleetwood Mac, Tango in the Night. Grew up with Queen being bought and played around the house. And a lot of classic 80s, Whitney Houston. And I think everyone growing up in the 90s like I did, my mum in her Rover had her Shania Twain blaring as well. That's an absolutely fantastic album, but the point being is that it's always been round about us, and it's something that I always saw myself interested in as a young boy. And the first time it ever came to me was, we're going to take you right back to September, October of 1998. We just started back in primary school again. Growing up in Knoxon Primary School, the one thing that they did, which was amazing for kids back then, was they brought in a variety of different instruments that you could play and try out. And week by week, we saw numerous people coming into the school with percussion and flutes and clarinets, and none of these things really seemed to appeal to me. And at that part of my life, I was more interested in sitting on the bench playing football in the B team for Dumbarton East, which was pretty bad. And the only reason I got picked was because I was the tallest centre back in their team. Centre back, by the way, in US terms, is a defender, right? So the day finally arrived where Anne Binney walked in the door for cello to Milton Primary School, and someone who will cover, I've got the utmost time and respect and a massive call out to thank her for her guidance in life so far. She's helped me get to a really good place where I am now through the work and support she gave me throughout my time with cello and music in school to get me to university. She came in with this cello and I was immediately hooked. We sat down and I think I recall playing the Jaws theme tune and Titanic. And what I do remember, because I've actually found the sheet music in my cello case, was Titanic was fresh in the charts then, so she belted out some Celine Dion's Titanic, and for some strange reason at a very young age I thought, this is it, I need to learn to play this. So I put myself forward and I eventually got the part. Funny thing about this for anyone who's never played an instrument before is that you go and you don't know and tell your parents as to what you're doing. You put yourself forward for a cello or any instrument to that effect, and your parents then pick you up at the school gates and you've got this massive cello standing there to come home to make a home of, with not much room in your house. So on this particular day, it was my granny and papa who had come to pick us up from school, and there I was standing near this tiny little guy with a cello about the same size as us, and I was so chuffed. I was so proud to tell my family that from this day forward I would be a man playing the cello. So we got to my granny and papa's, and I remember pulling out the cello, sitting down with them, giving them a tune, and the thing was horrendously out of tune. So anything I was trying to play, I mean, I could only play like two notes because of the jaw theme tune that I'd had. Even at that, couldn't keep the thing in tune. And I think somewhere in my mind, I felt after one day of playing this thing, I knew how the cello should sound. But the problem was tuning this thing was such an absolute nightmare. I had to ask my papa to stand and tune it. So here's me sitting there, sitting with my granny and papa in our kitchen, playing this cello horrendously out of tune. My granny looking at me like, oh, that's amazing. If I, I could tell it through the eyes. She was sitting and going, oh God, listen to this is horrendous. And all the while, my papa, because he was massive, trying to help me out. He had one hand on the tuning pegs and twisting it, and it was like that scene from Friends where Ross is playing the bagpipes and Phoebe's sitting there screeching along to try and keep this thing in tune. So, I think my granny in later life, I think she told me she had a little bit of chuckle at that. But I tell you what, it was a pretty proud day for us, and the cello was just the start. After a few months of playing that, everyone's first sort of thing you want to do is to try and do a live performance. And ever since my first year in orchestras, the school always had a fantastic music ensemble. Eileen Douthwaite, who was our Western Bartonshire Orchestra coach, she took us from primary school all the way through to high school. She had an amazing team of people who would bring all the kids together and pay attention to learn their music and do it. It came to the first performance, so very first debut. It wasn't anything cool, it was nothing like a band or anything rock and roll. It was Jingle Bells at the Knoxon Primary Assembly Hall. But needless to say, show went down not quite a storm, because how much can Jingle Bells really rock out someone? But point being, it was a monumentous occasion, and I was very fortunate that I got to share the stage with kids from different schools that I didn't know, and we all came together and played these shows in each of our schools and in town halls and stuff in their area. So it was fantastic. And I want to pause just to acknowledge that the early years of this, or getting into this, I can't put a price on just how much the teachers from way back when made such an impact on me. Sheila Ray was a family friend she actually taught my mum at Clydebank High School, and then she taught myself and my brother afterwards. So she had a lot of know all of our family, and she worked tirelessly throughout my high school years as my high school teacher to make sure that I got the best grades that I could possible to inevitably get into university. And again, in parallel with that, Anne Binney, she stayed with me right from when I was 8 till just turned 18, and she always used to joke at the start of each term that if I knew I wasn't going to take music that year, or I was going to leave school, to let her know because she was going to retire. And I was very honoured and humbled when she announced that she had personally written to the SQA to perform my advanced higher music with the cello. So she accompanied me on the day, and very honoured. The biggest thing from this whole thing is that because of their support, these amazing teachers, they helped me get the grades that I had to get into university, which allowed me then to go and do what I'm doing now and get into Glasgow, go to Strathclyde University and have an absolutely fantastic time. And if it wasn't for them supporting this little average kid, didn't really have much else going on in terms of my footballing career was more or less never taken off in school. I'd kind of became very fond of booze, so I was never going to be running around on any sort of major sort of other sporting activities, but it persevered me and they stuck with me through the music, and I really owe a lot to them. And there'll be some photos there of the two of them. And the one thing that this did do from a very young age was it gave me confidence to put myself out there a bit, which inevitably in my day-to-day, as someone who has to lead calls and coordinate and chair meetings and boardrooms. If you can stand up and play Jingle Bells on a stage, you can certainly do an update on a call. So that's a little first blog of an intro as to how I got into music. And next up is going to be how I found my love of new metal, grunge, alt rock, and how I became interested in playing guitar. So sorry for stammering, this is the first one I've done. Please persevere, we will get there. But thank you very much, thanks for listening to me. This has been Chalky's Corner, and I'll see you next time.